This week on the podcast, it's finally time for us to sit down and definitively rank the Metal Gear Solid series. We chat about taking detail for granted in games, and on this week's Pixel Picks Showdown, things are getting tense as we name the best stealth horror game. All this and more on the Pixel Parents podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I am your host, Liam Kelvin, and today I'm of course joined by the bearded one, Scott, the tastemaker. Curry, how are we, Scott?
The virtual one?
The virtual one?
I'm alright. The virtual one. We're doing this virtually because of illness and reasons, you know, fucking life and families and kids that aren't well, but apart from all that, I'd say I'm at a solid 4 for this week, to be honest with you.
Okay.
4 out of 10. I think I'm more tired than human. I think I'm just completely done in. The wee one isn't sleeping, which means that we all don't sleep.
Yep.
Dog has decided to be a pain in the arse. So, it's all good. It's all fun and games. The only release that you get is Cyberpunk and the stress that brings.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, how are you?
Not bad, yeah, not bad. We're 6 weeks tomorrow. Well, 6 weeks from the day of this podcast going live, we'll be moving house. So I'm feeling that breathing down my neck a wee bit. But yeah, you know, we're getting things moving. No storms ripping the house apart, which is great. We kind of managed to get through that with semi-minimal damage, I suppose. So yeah, I can't complain too much. Things are moving, and I'm just like really just trying to retain some focus, you know, on work and stuff like that. But it's quite difficult just now. So I've been, you know, really just enjoying the warm embrace of gaming, just like you said, at the end of a rather long day. And I'm with you as well. Like there's nothing that can induce an instant bad mood like when the kids just don't sleep. You know, it's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle.
It's an absolute blooming nightmare. Like it's getting her down to sleep, and then when you get her down to sleep, she's fine. But then she'll wake up in the middle of the night, and then that's us all awake again. It's like, this is good. This feels like you're back at newborn stage. So
yeah,
it'll pass. It will pass. She's had a big birthday, so I think it's just she's still excited from all the parties and stuff that she had in the last couple of weeks. So
yeah.
Hopefully by the time this episode airs and the next one's here, I'll be in a better mood.
I mean, it's not like you to be grumpy. You know,
I know.
It's a shocker.
I'm not a grumpy person.
You're really not, actually. I mean, you could easily make the case I'm probably the more grumpy out of the two, but he knows me too well. I think I would say, like, just want to touch on that because this is obviously the Pixel Parents podcast, which is a podcast about video games and parenting and everything chucked in between. But do you ever, like, when they're not sleeping, right, and then you're up to the arse end of the clock every single night, and you know you can't really get a start, but do you ever like kind of self-sabotage and think, bugger it, I'm just going to take out the portal and just play for an hour even though it's like 2 a.m, or is it just like straight to the pillow? Because I've been tempted to do that in the past because I'm like, I might as well just stay up. And I think I tried it once, failed miserably, and it's something I always like flirt with the idea of, but just too cowardly to go ahead with.
Too cowardly to go ahead with it. No, it's one of those things where I have thought about it, but I generally just go to bed and then watch stuff on my phone for the next 3 hours. So I mean, it would have been time better spent actually playing something. But these videos about speedrunning Kingdom Hearts, I'm going to watch themselves.
Very true. That is very true.
No one else is going to watch them but me.
You could be very, very right on that one. But before, got lots to talk about. Quite excited for this episode because Scott's going to flex his knowledge muscle on all of you this week. I'm just an innocent bystander, but we've got that and some other cool things to talk about. But let's get some housekeeping out the road before we do. So, of course, for those listening, this is the Pixel Parents podcast, a weekly podcast by parents who game for those who do the same, where each week we discuss all things gaming while raising little ones. If you want to be part of the podcast, come say hello and share your thoughts with us at pixelparents.bsky.social on Blue Sky, or write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear and you want to support the show, you can leave a 5-star review and share this podcast online with your friends. Of course, that helps us out. And thank you to everybody that joins us each and every week. So without the way, Scott, what have you been playing this week?
I'm sure it'll come to nobody's surprise that I've been continuing on my cyberpunk journey. Being absolute ball deep in this game for many, many hours now. And I tell you what, that's definitely a video game, you know.
Oh, yes.
It's a beautiful experience. I'm happy to say that as of 1:30 last night, Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty were complete. Finally rolled credits on both. I got to a point where I was just running from mission marker to mission marker because I'd done all the gigs and everything, so it was just a case of getting through them. But it was also very much, which do I do first? Do I finish off the Phantom Liberty first, or do I finish the main story? And it obviously makes sense to do Phantom Liberty first, so I done that. And my lord, what a bloody video game!
C'est magnifique.
It is. You know what? For the credit that it gets, and it doesn't get enough credit in terms of, you know, the comeback. I think it was Chris Pratt in Park and Recreation that said that, you know, Kim Kardashian had the best comeback, but I would say that CD Projekt Red rival that. It's an incredible achievement. This fucking game, man. Like, it's. I see from the beginning of it, I was completely, and I mean vehemently, against Johnny Silverhand. Mm-hmm. Like, to a fault, I was like, I can't stand this wank. But what a decision to make! Like, yeah. It's just, and you know what? I'm satisfied with the ending that I've got because it wraps up my story well. Mm-hmm. But I'm also thinking, like, I could go back and do it again. That's the kind of part of it. It's like I could go and do it again. It's amazing. Like, I never experienced any issues in terms of, you know, first person. First person isn't my jam, and I've said this enough. I've fallen off Skyrim more than anyone else, I think, on the planet. But it's just incredible. Like, everything that you do in it is just, it gamifies every part of it for you. Like, you can go in and you can jack into basically everything that's there, steal hundreds of credits, never use them, never use any of your components. But they're there anyway, just in case you want them. And it's the characters in it as well. Like, I always kind of feel that with these games, take Skyrim for example. Like, from what I've played of it, it was always very much, I got to the mountain places at High Hrothgar or something like that. You go and see the greybeards or whatever it is. And what'd you call it? Yeah, I always just end the game there. That's me. I've had enough now, which is basically where it starts. But the characters just they haven't gelled with me. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I mean, pretty much every single character that I met in Cyberpunk has affected me in one way or another. It's just like they're so well fleshed out. They all have point and they all have reason. And the story, and I never expected that even just like romance options in the story would always come down and it would even make sense in the end. Like, if you've picked one person to be in a relationship with, like, that as an option at the end of it, where you can get support. So it's like, fucking hell. Like, this is just it picks everything and it does everything really well. Like, it's just. It's genuinely, I wrote it on my Blue Sky today, but it's honestly, it's been a pure 10 out of 10 experience for me. Like, it's just incredible. And I think even just base game, if I hadn't played Phantom Liberty, I think I would have still thought the same. Yeah. But Phantom Liberty just adds this extra level of just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is actual going on? And I never thought that someone could make me hate Idris Elba. But I mean, I'm here. And fuck Solomon Reed. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those ones where that's just like a diamond just sitting waiting to be experienced, and you can totally understand. I mean, it was only about 2 years ago, I suppose now, Phantom Liberty came out, and that was really the relaunch, I suppose, of the game in terms of that comeback story. I won't go into detail on Phantom Liberty because it's still so new. But I mean, yeah, you can take that game any way you want, and I've said this last week, and I'll say it again because I think the listeners need to understand just how much you hate first-person games, and the fact that you've come away enjoying it so much just speaks volumes.
It is ridiculous. Like this is one of those games that if you were going to make a top 20 list of games that you should play before you die, I would honestly, hands up, say that Cyberpunk is one of them. It's not. The gameplay on its own is phenomenal. Like the gunplay, stealth mechanics, all the mad, quick hacks and stuff that you can do, but just the storyline and the characters in it, it's just so well done. Like I wasn't expecting that from it. I think that's been the one thing that's held me back, like from it all. But it just feels like a total living, breathing world, and you feel like part of it. Like it's just like the way that your character, the way that V moves around, and the way that he kind of interacts with certain things. It's like, what? This is mad. Like this is mental. But it's just a total. It's like just a pure blown away experience. Like I've come away from it being like, what am I going to do now? Like what's going to take over my life at the moment? And you kind of asked me about it the other night, whether or not I'd played Dragon Quest 3, and I'm happy to say that I've started the Dragon Quest 3 remakes.
I'm very excited to get your thoughts on this once you've spent a bit more time with it. Like you cook, because that's one that I'm tempted to just, I've not committed to just buying 4 games this year, but I'm going to try and buy as minimal games as possible.
As little games as you can. I mean, Cyberpunk was the first one, so...
yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'm intrigued. On our scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Cyberpunk now that you've completed your journey with it?
It's a 10 out of 10. It is, honestly, it is incredible. It's genuinely fucking mental how good it is. And it's a game that, in the past I would have completed games and traded them in, but this is one that I think I've experienced everything that I can experience in it, but it's also just a world that I'd be happy to sort of roll around in and like jump in a car and crash into everything and fly over walls and stuff. Like I got to a point where it was just like double jumping and then jumping in the air, zipping through the air onto people and stuff. It was like, this is crazy. Like what am I doing here? It was honestly what an experience. Genuinely.
I'm so happy to hear it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your reaction to like The Witcher and the DLCs when you finish that this year as well, part 2 of the challenge. But yeah, Cyberpunk's just phenomenal, and I think you're right. It's a game that you just can return to just to inhabit that world, and even if your content complete, because I mean it's a fairly straightforward platinum if you want to put the time into it, but it's the way the world works and how everything interacts with each other. You can just kind of just go in there. It's a bit like GTA 5 and just wander about and just make your own fun, make your own game.
Make your own fun with it, yeah. It also, like, I've got a bad habit of, if I was playing Metal Gear Solid, for example, like if I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 5 and something goes wrong, I'm immediately skipping back to checkpoint to do it again perfectly.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it was very much, if something goes wrong, just get the guns out and just start taking every single person down. Like, it's when you get to a point where you get Johnny's gun and you're spinning that around in your hand and stuff like that. It's like, this is fucking incredible. This is so cool, man. Like, it was class.
I loved that moment actually, and it's the punch that it packs as well. Like you can feel it. Like the gunplay in that game is like so tight, butter smooth as well.
It doesn't get enough. It doesn't get enough credit. It really doesn't. I've seen since I've started posting about it and stuff. I've seen more people kind of talk about it, but it's just what an incredible experience. As I say, it's one that I'll think about for a long time. I think because it's for something that I never thought I would ever play or ever enjoy. I'm all about it now. I'm actually going to become Cyberpunk. That's me.
That's it.
I'm going to become Mr. Punk, CM Punk.
They get you like a samurai jacket and stuff like that.
Oh god, imagine. That's like the whole fucking, what do you call it? What was that film Drive? Everyone thought they were Ryan Gosling for a while.
God, with a mad scorpion. All that. Let's be fair. Like it had like one cool scene in the elevator, and the rest of it was just a bit blah. Like the soundtrack had those couple of songs on it, but style over substance. That might be a theme. Style over substance, of course, is the that's the name of the game there. But yeah, outside of that, so you're on to Dragon Quest 3. Playing anything else? Anything else been tickling your pickle this week?
Not really, no. I've kind of had a look at a few things on Xbox, but there's nothing on there that I kind of fancy. And just so I kind of want to just get to settled into a rhythm where the games are going to start to become complete and start to clear this backlog, because it's getting there. I can see the future ahead of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, all roads point to The Witcher at the end of this year. So we'll see how this all goes.
Oh yes. Well,
I'll be the Christmas special. Me just talking about my time in Velen.
That's it.
My dog's just broken into the room.
Oh God, we're going to get the tap dancing. Can't hear a thing. But yeah, I might inspire you to add something else to your backlog following on from last week. So let me talk you through my week. So I've been on a journey, Scott, since the last episode. So as we all know from last week, I went back to Red Dead Redemption 2, and I have since finished it, which I'm pleased to say. The second time finishing it, so I think what's that? I've put about 140 hours or something into this game collectively since I've bought it. And what a masterpiece. I mean, I think this is a game that absolutely deserves and begs to be replayed. Because even if you've not played it through the first time, but it's something if you haven't, if you finished it and you've not touched it in a while and not thought about it, it really does deserve all the flowers you can give it. But I've come away with it with a newfound appreciation for that story. Not that I didn't the first time round, but it's the sum of its parts. It's just how it's characterized and that journey you go on with Arthur. It's more like a book than anything else, like the way how deep it is and how it takes its time and how it's not afraid to take its time. You know, that it doesn't belittle the player. There's a lot of detail in there that's so apparent. And I then made the mistake, and this is why I'm realising the detail and why I actually prefer it. I made the mistake of going right into Red Dead Redemption after finishing it this week. And don't forget, this is like epilogue and stuff, so you're talking 60, 65 hours to finish this game, which I've somehow done in the space of a couple of weeks. And
ridiculous.
Going back to the original, which is about 18, 20 hours in length, it feels so base. Like, and it is, it's like, it's very, very basic, but it was advanced for the time, as we remember. Still a tremendous game, but it's just going back after you've kind of finished something so rich and detailed and doing those Rockstar tutorial missions, like on McFarlane Ranch. It's like, I just can't. Like, I don't have it in me. And this is me playing the 360 version on the Xbox Series X, so it's upscaled to 4K. It doesn't have the FPS boost on it, but it looks fantastic. It runs incredibly well, especially when you compare it to like GTA 4. And I just had to just admit, this isn't clicking. I might have just ate a wee bit too much of the same cake. So I had to kind of put it down and walk away. So I'm going to come back to Red Dead once I'm finished talking to you about what I've been doing this week. But a bit like...
Sorry, see, before you do this, my dog has decided that now is the right time for it to take the biggest drink of water and eat every single bit of dry food in our bowl. So if you can hear this in the background, enjoy it. This is ASMR for all you dog lovers out there.
Dog mukbang.
Ridiculous.
You can't hear a thing. No laps.
Mukbang.
It's that's a TikTok channel waiting to happen. Just a dog mukbang.
It's a dog mukbang.
But yeah, I decided to be like the wandering cowboy of the gaming world and think, right, I've just had this experience that I've went through before, sort of comfort blanket. What do I do next? And I just thought, right, well, I can try something I haven't done. And I went down the Goldilocks path. So, of course, my first destination was like, well, what's the comfort game and stuff? Because that's what I think I'm looking for, just to counterbalance everything that's happening just now. So, Black Ops Season 2 is up and running. So I'm more than happy to dive into that. We had a shot the other night, and that's just like, it's chewing gum effectively, but it's good to kind of go and have a laugh. But I've been kind of craving to go back to that. So that's one part. Went back to FC25 for a wee bit. buggy as all hell since the update for me.
Is that right? Aye.
Yeah, it's like I started a new like career mode, and my wee manager just has like he's got a t-shirt on, but I can't get rid of the red tie on him. So it's like he's just like wearing this random clown red tie. And
maybe it's one of those shirts that you used to get. It's like a t-shirt that has like a shirt and tie on it.
It really is, man. It was like, oh man. And I thought if I just kind of like put this together too quickly, like just randomizing stuff, and no, it's definitely a bug. And then the gameplay keeps going into like hard simulation modes where it's like wind and all that goes against you, and it's very slow. So it's properly like a normal game of football and less arcadey. But again, I was like, nah. And then I went to Balatro, and the Balatro's just always on. I was like, nah, I ain't going to do it either. So then I thought, right, I'm going to try a couple of things here, because I looked at Game Pass and the PlayStation menu as well. Booted up Devil May Cry 5, and as much as I was enjoying it, it wasn't clicking with me immediately just because of my headspace at the time. So I'm like, I'm going to come back to this, because I'm like, nah, I know this is good. I'm just not ready for it. So that I'm going to come back to that. And I thought, right, let's try out something else. So I went to Ninja Gaiden Black 2 on Game Pass. Tremendous. Like, it's just so much fun going back to that game. Looks gorgeous, which probably didn't help the Devil May Cry 5 kind of aspect of it, because it's a different type of rapid action. And then I stopped and started to play Eternal Strands on Game Pass, which is a game that's just launched just this week from former BioWare devs and made up of former Ubisoft devs as well. So it's very much like of the Dragon Age ilk, Dragon Age Zelda type ilk of it, and it looks great. I mean, if you thought Dragon Age Veilguard looked like Dreamlight Valley, you're in for a treat with this. But it's makes you appreciate them graphics all the more, I'll tell you that. But very early on, it's a little bit goofy. It's a little bit, it's not, the execution, it's not stiff, but it's just not quite pulling off at moments. Like, it feels a wee bit floaty at points in the combat. But there's something here, and it's kind of like how I felt about Immortals, the Ubisoft game.
Right, okay.
So, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was very much in the same vein of that. It had Zelda-like elements, open world, similar art styles and stuff. So
what was that Immortals? That Phoenix Rising thing?
Phoenix Rising, yeah. It's a great game.
I thought you were talking about Immortals of Avium.
No, aye, no. I've been tempted by that. But no, Phoenix Rising is a great game. Like, if you see that in the sale, just pick it up. It's just dead fun, and it's charming, but it's only if you are like me, if you're an open world sicko. So yeah, I've just kind of been meandering through all this stuff, but nothing. This is a problem after playing a game like Red Dead Redemption 2. You're trying to eat burgers when you've just had a steak, and you're like, nothing's comparing to it. It takes the taste of everything out your mouth a little bit. You're like, it just ain't the same. So I don't know. That's why I think comfort gaming is where I'm at just now. And yeah, it's something that's going to continue. Now, there's a point I want to bring up about Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm probably going to that now, and there's a couple of things that's happened this week I think it's worth telling the listeners about outside in the gaming space. But it's all about like a question I wanted to ask you, because we've both played two heavyweight fighters there. Cyberpunk.
Okay.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Cyberpunk's definitely coming out of this now. It's got a much better reputation. I think it's got a positive reviews now on Steam and stuff like that, which is an amazing redemption arc. Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the highest rated games ever, but it seems to be the longer that time goes on, the negative signals of it are coming out. Like, people like, I played it for 2 hours, it was too slow. And it's like, right, okay, good for you. But I'm like, do we take detail in games for granted? Like, these two games that we've played, probably two of the most detailed games of all time. And I'm just sitting there looking at it like, this, like, we use the word masterpiece all the time, but I'm playing them and I'm like, these really are like, these have been handcrafted in a way at a level, that we rarely see, very rarely see. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is 7 years old this year, which is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And it's still still like absolutely like booty smacks any other game that can
it's
try to hold a candle
head
to
and
it.
shoulders above. I know, definitely.
It's insane. But
It's. I think that detailing games, it depends on the game. To be honest with you, like I think that playing Red Dead Redemption for the first time, it was exciting being able to go through every single house, look in every single drawer, look at every single thing that you pick up, and like go through Arthur's pockets and find all the nonsense and like look at it. Like as you're literally doing, it's like, all right, okay, that's cool. But the thought of doing that again now, like doing it again on a second playthrough, is like, all right, okay, that's just like, oh, just like my god, like as a thought. But doing it with Cyberpunk there, like drinking in that world and really taking everything in, it's just like, this is amazing. Like it really, really does. That's part of the reason why it's so good. Like I think if you lost half of the detail in Cyberpunk, like the advertisements and stuff like that, and even like some of the daft like radio broadcasts and stuff in that you hear, it's like they really add things to the story. Like it really does add parts to it. So I think it's something that I think it's expected from some people, like from some developers. I think from Rockstar, like if Grand Theft Auto 6 came out and didn't have as much detail as Red Dead Redemption 2, which I think it might, I don't think it's going to have half as much detail in it.
Well, in its own way, but it couldn't, could it? It's a very different vibe of game. It used to be a bit more, not pick up and play. That's the thing. You've described it perfectly. I think the thought of playing Red Dead Redemption 2 is worse than actually playing it, because it's amazing how quickly you fall back into the rhythm of it. The only thing that bugged me about it was the walking speed. It's very, Arthur's got a heft and a weight to him, not so much a swagger. I mean, he's a very robust man in this game, proper cowboy. But yeah, it's insane. Like, and when a game's into your veins when you start listening to the soundtrack, which I've been doing. Like at the weekend there, I made some homemade kimchi, and I'm sitting there listening to the Red Dead Redemption 2 soundtrack, like the actual score. The score. It was the most dramatic kitchen, this neck of the woods. But it's the way that it all just comes together, this symphony of
and it's definitely the biggest part of it. I mean, I think and the topic of this podcast obviously going to be talking about Metal Gear Solid. I think that's a great example of it. It's like some minor details in Metal Gear Solid 2, for example. Like there's an ice bucket on the tanker mission that when you shoot the ice cubes come out, but if you leave them for long enough, they'll melt. It's like,
exactly.
Why is that there? And like you can shoot the pans and they all make different tones and sounds and stuff. So it's just like, what's going on there? But even just daft things like, there's things that you can do to the enemy, that you can knock them out, or you can wake them up using the coolant and stuff. Or you can use the phone and things as well. It's like there's loads of daft wee things in there that really do just add to the actual game itself.
Oh yeah.
And you're talking about soundtracks as well. I mean, they're all Red Dead Redemption. I would say with Cyberpunk, it's the timing of it and like the sort of the pace of the music and stuff like that is really what lends it to it. Like some of the end missions where it's just the music's just playing and it's like, holy fucking god, like this is just ramping everything up. Like games like Doom, for example, as well. Like
yes.
they just completely complement them, but it's the minutiae in games that those wee small details that only one person in the world might find it, but that one person's like, I fucking find that, like this is class. Like it's just so stupid.
It's amazing.
Like, the balls in Red Dead Redemption, like the horse's balls, shrivel up. You can poo in Metal Gear Solid 5, and it can take out cars. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, who comes up with this shit? It makes sense, but
what I love about it though is that these small details, and this is why it's why we probably shouldn't take it for granted, they become gaming folklore. That is our folklore at the end of the day. Like it's the locking the butler in the fridge in Tomb Raider. It's like you mentioned, the horse testicles. It's all these little tiny details, the Easter eggs, I suppose. But in fact, it goes more than an Easter egg. It's something that's just kind of been built. Someone's taken the time to create that, and it enriches the world because for a split second, it's like, all right, I can manipulate this in a way that feels more real life. as opposed to a scripted event. And the irony is, it is a scripted event, but they do become our folklore, and I appreciate them. I think
it felt like, in Red Dead Redemption, for example, like you can come across dead bodies, like, and it's like a serial killer, I think it is. I mean, it's been ages since I've played it, but it's like you can track that down, but it's you have to literally follow it. Like, I think that's the one thing that The Witcher always bothered me, in that you don't have to actually track it. You just have your Witcher sense, and it shows you where everything else. So it makes sense. It's just like this big red mark. But it would have been cool if there was like points in the world where, say for example, the Griffin attack at the beginning of The Witcher. It's not a spoiler because everyone else has played it, right? Yeah. But there's no Witcher sense there. It's just you can follow the tracks. You can literally see what's happened in the world and stuff. It's like with the Witcher 4 coming out, like it's going to be. I can imagine something like that happening where it's a lot more detailed and it would be completely ridiculous, but it would have just been cool if that was the norm at that point. But with Red Dead Redemption, like the first murder you see on the train tracks, it's like you see that body there and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's then you start following that. It's so cool. Like, it's just these wee things that it's pointed out in the map at points, but sometimes you do just come across these things in the world, like Gavin, the guy shouting Gavin. Like, yes, you know what I mean, like it's nobody knows why he's doing it, but everyone has these weird things, like weird what's the word, like sort of storylines for this guy. He's a time traveler or something like that, looking for this guy. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
I love
their own lore for many characters. So mad.
Yeah, and it's things like even like the Mount Chiliad UFO and stuff like that in GTA 5 and all these wee things that they put in probably just to mess with their heads and create a folklore. I mean, Christ, arguably, I mean, Vati Vidya is the best living example of that, of like creating and using what's in the game to inform gaming folklore. At the end of the day, he does it like he's the best in the business at it, and for good reason. If you're into Souls games, check him out. He has such a soothing voice, he'll put you to sleep in 20 minutes. It's amazing stuff. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. If you're having a bad day, go listen to his stuff. It's just incredible.
Oh, it makes you want to play Souls games.
It really does. I mean, he's probably done more for those games than the marketing team ever have.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I think before we get into the main topic, I just wanted to touch on something because last week's episode, which thank you to everybody checking that out. It's actually really good to see, like, as we're kicking off this year, more and more people come join us every week to listen to us chat shite about games. But we had the big Xbox chat Mark 2, and yeah, there's been a few interesting increases happening, and I think we may have predicted or pitched certain things that have happened. Obviously, today the news is Forza Horizon 5 will be coming to PlayStation 5, which is one of the
literally just
you just seen it there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did put that in the predictions episode, or that one, I can't remember. I've got a memory like a sieve, but we definitely put that out there that one of the big ones, like Forza Master Chief Collection, will be coming to other platforms. And then also, Phil Spencer was in an interview this week just talking about how he'd congratulated Nintendo on the Switch 2 review and kind of putting out those collaborative feelers, which is telling me that I think I might have pitched that. I'll put that in the prediction that we might see it on Switch 2 as well. So it's coming together, Scott. If you want the tasty predictions, all I'm saying is just listen to us. Listen to us. So we've got the crystal ball.
Everyone's copying us. Metal Gear Solid countdown rankings. People are doing. People are talking about the future of Xbox. We are the cutting edge of podcasting, folks.
That's it. Yeah, the crystal bollocks.
If you want to, we are. That's us, Mystic Egg, Mystic Greg. Just fucking listen to us, and then you've got podcast content for your own podcasts now as well.
That's true.
Not that I'm bitter.
Nah, there's no reason to be better. I mean, I think if you're paying attention, you can see it coming a mile off, to be fair. But it's an exciting time, and I think as well, Xbox being being the largest game publisher in the world last year as well. According to the latest reports, their gaming revenue's down, the hardware revenue's down, but their content revenue's up. You can see how it's all coming together. Indeed. The dominoes are falling. The dominoes are falling. Anyway.
Xbox is calling. When are we going to get Phil Spencer on this show, Liam?
What's that?
When are we going to get Big Phil on this show?
Big Phil, I mean, he's dying to get in this show. I'm like, Phil, we've got topics to talk about. You know what I mean?
Hell, Phil, gonna stop messaging us, mate.
I will say though, he was on, I think it was Destin Legari's channel. He was giving an interview on to what's IGN, and I must say, Phil's looking good. Like, he looks like he's lost a bit of timber. I was just like, because the last time I seen him, was that?
Aye. He's probably just like not having much stress in his life now.
Yeah, which is, it's good, because I actually felt bad for him last year during like that strategy update, and he did look a bit, tired, to say the least. But it's like he's looking healthier, so it's like maybe that's shining through. That energy's coming through to Xbox, which is great, because long overdue. But anyway, I digress. I think it's time for us to go on to our main topic now. This is going to be the first of what would be our regular ranking specials. This week, we're going to be ranking the Metal Gear Solid series, the definitive ranking. And this is one that I've been particularly excited about, want to kick off with, because he won't tell you himself, listeners, but Scott Curry is a bit of a Metal Gear Solid boffin, right? I have watched this man write articles that are probably dissertation length about it, and I've listened to this man wax lyrical about the deepest ends of the iceberg, so to speak. So this is going to be good, just to see how I can contribute to this one, because I'm a fan, but I would not say I am not tinfoil hat wearing. And it's it's going to be good. How are you feeling about it, Scott, before we dive into things?
I'm trying to keep the tinfoil hat out of it, because I could go down the rabbit hole here, and this podcast could be 900 years long. So much so that Liam has instructed me not to go into handheld Metal Gear Solids. So if you're looking for that here, you're not gonna fucking get it, boy.
Yeah, well, we like to tease things, of course. I mean, if people enjoy the ranking, there's like, hey, what happened to the handheld ones? So we can always go back and update that.
I'll make a point to talk about them at some point. I'll maybe give you a wee bit at the end to appease the niche. But it's Metal Gear Solid is a series that, in my heart of hearts, is just it's the greatest video game series of all times. You have, by God, the best character in video game history in Solid Snake himself, and a whole cast of characters around him. Like, one of the greatest villains. You're talking about Ganondorf, right? Ganondorf's a sort of an easy number 2 to Liquid Snake and Liquid Ocelot. Revolver fucking Ocelot. Like, it's so good. It's so good. The worst thing that happened to Revolver Ocelot was that Troy Baker voiced him in Metal Gear Solid 5. Did a good job, but you could always still hear about him. But and now we never see the end of him. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it, because, as you say, I forgot that I actually wrote that article many years ago about the Metal Gear Solid 5 trailer. I'd love to go back to that and see how much of it was true and how much of it wasn't correct. But
I don't think you were far off the mark in a lot of it. We need to dig it out, because it'll still be there somewhere in the realms of the internet. And I remember it when we were sitting covering E3 together for a website we had together, and it was that was good fun. But I think you must have spent the better part of a whole afternoon just in like a singular point. That's how long it was.
Disgusting, man. I was so excited for Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, excellent. But I mean,
take me back.
I think it's probably better, because this is something we should add as well. We're doing this blind, so we've not prepped a list. So I think it's good to see where we're sitting at, and if maybe we can come to agree the list, the ranking definitively at the end of it. I think we start from the bottom, and then we get here, effectively, get to the top.
Started from the bottom, and now we're here.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. So yeah, that's kind of like a mission in life. So I'll kick things off, Scott, because I just want to be the antagonist here in this one and be interesting. So if I look from Metal Gear Solid 1 to 5, and I've not included Metal Gear in this, okay?
Yeah.
Because I've specifically said Metal Gear Solid, so it's just 1 to 5. So it's 5 entries. Right? So at number 5, I've put Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes / The Phantom Pain. I've put them in as 1. Right. I'm going to kick that off. I'm going to put that over to you and see what your number 5 is.
Oh my God, it breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart too.
my number 5 in the whole series is Metal Gear Solid 4. I love Metal Gear Solid 4, and I think that for what it does in terms of, putting the whole series in a bow, wrapping it up and saying that's it finished, like not many series get to go out like that in terms of this is the definitive end of this chapter. It was very much sort of great for that. The gameplay, it's Metal Gear Solid as you know it. It's everything that you come to expect from the Metal Gear Solid franchise, but I think that where it lacks is it's very much just the same game as Metal Gear Solid. Like, and I think that's the point. It's the same thing as the original Metal Gear Solid, but I just couldn't put 4 there. I couldn't put 5 there. And Ground Zeroes, if I had to say, if Ground Zeroes was a game on its own, Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes could well be in my top 2 because it's phenomenal. It's so good. Just that sandbox kind of being able to just run around that wee Camp Omega. It was so good. Like, just disgusting.
It really was. I mean, I hadn't seen anything like it. I know. I'll touch on Ground Zeroes first before we go into Phantom Pain, because again, I don't want to overcook the points. But yeah, Ground Zeroes, something that we hadn't seen. Not a full price release, but it was just a little slice of the action to come. But it was perfect, and it did kind of put. That was probably like Kojima's like, right, here's my idea for Metal Gear Solid 5. Cooks that up and says, do you get it now? It's like, yes, absolutely get it. And it's one that you could absolutely make your own fun in, littered with little kind of weird things and Easter eggs to do and objectives. And yeah, it really did. I wish some bigger games followed its lead. It's like, right, the main course is going to be still another few years away. Let's just put out a little section of it first that kind of teases the story. But that is why I've put the Phantom Pain at number 5, because if it was gameplay purely based on that, it would be higher because it's incredible. Like, I looked at it the other day and I didn't realise I put like 130 hours or something into Metal Gear Solid 5, which I genuinely thought I played that for about 30 and moved on. But it's endlessly fun, like just kind of diving in and out, and God knows how much time you've put in it because you platinumed it.
I've planned it twice. It's outrageous. Like, I put it higher on my list, and we'll get to that point anyway. But just to sort of touch on it, it was the culmination of all the excitement for Metal Gear Solid fans for years and years. Like, Hideo Kojima came out after 4 and said that this was his last Metal Gear Solid game, and then we all got the trailer from Moby Dick Studios for that other game, which everyone knew it was Metal Gear Solid almost immediately. But that hype for that game just completely went. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, honestly, I kind of feel that Ground Zeroes was a sort of appeasement project just to kind of tide people over because the Phantom Pain was still a bit away.
Yeah.
But it did so much for that game. Like, it just seeing Big Boss and that Camp Omega climbing up that wall, even now, just sends shivers down my spine. Hearing Kiefer Sutherland for the first time saying, kept you waiting, huh? It was
brilliant.
I'm still standing by it. He was fucking brilliant in his role. Like, he was great. I thought he was really good at what he'd done, and especially in the Phantom Pain as well. I think there's moments where he does a great job with the character of Big Boss. I think for me, the gameplay really does take it over the edge in terms of how much I enjoy it above other Metal Gear Solid games, and that's just coming from a person who has played it for about 9 million hours. Like, it's endlessly fun. There's so much variety in there, so much replayability.
Yeah.
Like, you can tackle a mission any way you want. And there's loads of, like, see if you play it. So see if you were to go and platinum it tomorrow, right? You wanted to go and start the platinum for that tomorrow. There'll be things in that game that you will have never seen before.
Oh yeah.
Like interactions between guards. Like there's different challenges in it where you have to get different things, and it's to listen to a conversation that 2 guards have. But they're talking about something that's happened 7 missions ago or something like that. Like, they're bringing up different points in the story, and it's just like, this is fucking brilliant. This is so good. But it does such a good job of covering that period where Big Boss disappeared and then he showed back up again. Do you know what I mean? Like, how did we get from Metal Gear Solid 3, Peace Walker, and then how did we get from that to, and we obviously got Portable Ops in there as well, but how did we get from there to the Phantom Pain? But then how did we get from the Phantom Pain to Metal Gear 1? And seeing that tape at the end, the glass is smashed, the mirror is smashed, and we get the big Arnie line, like, I'm not you, you're me, or something like that. And then it's just you see the tape, Operation blah blah blah, and that's just the beginning of Metal Gear 1, and that ties that up in a wee neat bow.
Yep.
But obviously, the elephant in the room is that it is unfinished. Like we've all seen this from the baby Eli, and not having Solid Snake show up in it one bit was outrageous. Like, to keep that from the fans was disgusting.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from the point of view that he says it's finished, then it's still a very, very, very good video game. But that's kind of high on my list. Like, just the memories that I have with it, like the excitement of actually being there day in, day out, looking at news on it. Like, that's the first game that I've ever done that for, was just really follow its development, looking at Hideo Kojima's Twitter to see if he's working on things, like seeing D walking in pictures and stuff, being like, oh my god, what the fuck is that? What's that? It's so cool.
Yeah. I mean,
disgusting, man.
There was just a couple of things that dragged it down. And I say that, I'm splitting hairs, because every game on this list I would consider a 10, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
So I'm splitting hairs, but I have to. For me, it's the unfinished element, but it's just the fact that the story itself, I think if you look at the potential it had and how it was executed, it didn't marry up. Like, that was the only thing that was so sad. Like, remember Skullface in the lead up to it, and you're like, oh my god, this guy's going to be like, Thanos level. He's going to be unbelievable. And it was a bit of a damp squib. And then, the Sahelanthropus fight was epic and awesome, but it did just kind of feel like, let's just chuck that in there, just like out of nowhere. So it's there's lots of reasons why I probably couldn't put it. I could put it higher if I just put it in gameplay, but I thought I need to find a hair to split, and that's why. And for me, moving on, my number 4 was Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. And for me, I think it's just because it's just a preference thing. At the end of the day, Scott has notified me to say that I have a robot voice.
I don't know if it's just for me, but you've been robot voicing for a minute.
It'll be fine because I'm recording it here, so as long as you don't have the robot voice, we're fine. The wonders of technology.
Right. Wonders of technology. So you said Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots
was my number 4. And again, I've just put that there just purely because the fan service got me, man. Like, that's why it kind of got a little bit more extra points than Phantom Pain for me, and I'll admit to that.
Yeah,
I will admit to that. But
it makes sense. I mean, the best point of that game is when you get to the scene, and I think it's in like Paris or something like that, where you're underground and you're walking through the tunnels, and then would you call him, Ocelot finds you, and you have that he has this massive monologue and stuff, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like, it is the longest game ever. Like, I have done things in my life, like that have taken less time to watch Metal Gear Solid 4, but it's a game that I could forever go back to. Like, it's a game that I could genuinely play for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, and I'd never get bored of it. It is just let down by. I think it's just let down by the time it was made. Like, I think it's totally a product of its time in terms of how it looks and how it's so brown and beige and horrible looking. But but just that scene where the game opens up, you've got all those mad adverts, but even just installing the game where Snake's standing there smoking that cigarette that whole time, it's like, this is fucking cool.
He knew what he was doing. He did totally know what he was doing, and it was I remember buying a PlayStation 3 effectively for that, Uncharted as well, but Metal Gear Solid 4. Mm-hmm. But it was probably as indulgent I've seen Kojima, at least it was the first start of indulgent Kojima. I think it still holds that Guinness World Record for most cutscenes in a game. It's frightening how long you'll be sitting in your ass watching stuff, and you're captivated, you know. Yeah, and
Oh
you're
yeah,
right.
it's worth watching. Aye.
It really is. I mean, it's definitely a product of its time. It makes me really, really want them to do this this collection part 2 and have Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid 4 available in it, because the hoops you have to jump through to play that these days is stupid, really, for what is a fantastic game and a really important part in the series, I would say. But yeah, that was sitting at my number 4. But I'm keen to learn, what was your number 4 on your list?
My number 4. This is going to be the controversial one. This is the heat that I'm bringing.
Oh God.
Number 4 on my list is actually the first Metal Gear Solid. So Metal Gear Solid 1 is my number 4 of the 5.
God, I feel like my chair. Oh,
Now,
Jesus.
this is, if you had asked me this question 1 year ago, Metal Gear Solid 1 would have been top 3 easy. You know what I mean? Like maybe top 2. But I think that the limitations that it has, I mean, for its time, it's number 1. Do you know what I mean? It's the best game on the PlayStation by far. But I think that it's just, I there's something about it that I just don't enjoy playing it. And this is coming from a person who got the platinum trophy on the Master Collection when it came out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was,
Fiend.
and doing all the sort of VR missions and stuff as well. It's great. Like, I love it. I love Metal Gear Solid, but I think it is just, being a product of its time, kind of how old it is. I think it's just let down by that. You do have a remake of it in the Twin Snakes, but if you could remake that game in like proper things, then it would be good. Am I a robot now?
No, not at all.
No. Oh, I thought you were saying that I'm a robot.
No.
But no, I the only reason why it's number 4 is because I personally enjoy the other 3 more. But these games, apart from 4 is obviously going to be number 5 till the end of my life. But the rest of them could switch in time, could switch in sort of ranking any day you ask me. It's just today, Metal Gear Solid is sort of number 4, and it's the one that I know least about, to be honest with you. It's the sort of ugly duckling in the series for me, because I've not got this love affair with it. Like, when I first played Metal Gear Solid, the first one was in my neighbour's house, and he was trying to look for Meryl's codec, the number for the codec thing, which is on the back of the CD case. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But this was a time before internet and stuff as well, so we just had to like figure it out, and it was incredible. Like, I just remember watching him playing this game, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
What are we actually playing here? And then I got it from the game store a week later, and I played the living shit out of it. It was fantastic for its time, but I do just think the other 3 that I've got above it are just better games.
Yeah,
but
that's absolutely fair enough.
Yeah,
absolutely
there's a reason why, Solid Snake and Otacon, Campbell, Meryl and stuff, like, there's a reason why they transferred through all the series. Do you know what I mean? Like Liquid Snake made his way through.
To recap, you've got number 5 Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear Solid 4. Number 4, you've got Metal Gear Solid OG. I've got The Phantom Pain, number 5, and Metal Gear Solid 4 at number 4.
Indeed.
And bowled over. Just let me catch my breath.
I know.
This one might actually catch this. I must admit, this is where it gets interesting now. So the number 3s, right? Because this is where the chips are down, and I could interchange my number 3 and 2 depending on how I'm feeling at any given time. But I'm kept with the theme of what I feel is like. I've went down the kind of impact and nostalgia. I've become a sucker to it. But for me, my number 3 on the list is Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. I know. Look at, he's shaking his head, folks. Shaking his head. It's disgusting. The reason being is that was a case of that ran because others walked. It's like that's really why. I think I'm putting some respect on ones that come before and all that ahead of it. But make no mistake, Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of the games that really does prove that age is but a number. It ages like a fine wine. Like, as years go past, it seems to be prophetic. It seems to be way light years ahead of its time. Like, whatever Kojima was smoking at that time, man, it was like that limitless drug from that film. You know, like he was on it. He was cooking. It was peak Kojima storytelling. Arguably the best that he's ever done in terms of, you know, being able to almost serve a cautionary tale for the times that was coming ahead in the internet age. For me, the reason why is just because it's just that nostalgia factor. Like, you know, it did take a long time to accept Raiden. I found it hilarious at the time, but it did take a while to wrap my head around it, to be like, why has he done that? You know, and it's just, but you know, as time goes on, you realise it's like, yeah, it was such a weird but brave thing to do and shake things up. And it's also, but it's a little bit gimmicky, I'll accept. Hence why, you know, Phantom Pain was number 5 in mine, because it was a little bit too M. Night Shyamalan for the sake of it. It's like, here's the twist is coming, no the twist. And it's just, that gimmick is probably just dragged it down ever so slightly. But what I will say is, it is probably the one that has aged the best out of every single one here on the list.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's I can't disagree with it. I don't disagree with the ranking of it, but I'm not far away from it. But it's only number 2 because number 1 is the one. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the easiest one to pick. But Metal Gear Solid 2 is incredible. Like, I didn't have enough respect for that growing up at all, because it was very much, why is it Raiden? Who is that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is going on here? Why has he done this? But I never played Metal Gear Solid 2 when it first came out. I watched my cousin play it. He was up at our house around the time when it came out, and I just remember he came over and stayed overnight. He was older than me, my cousin Graham, and he played through the entire game in like one sitting with me one day, and it was just like watching him go through this game, enjoying the story with him. I was like, what? This is just mad. Like, I think I'd played Metal Gear Solid 1. Metal Gear Solid 2 came out in 2000 and it came out after 9/11, so it wasn't 2001. Was it 2002?
I think it was 2001, but it came out just after.
2001, because it had to change the end of it, because the Metal Gear, I think it was the Metal Gear Arsenal or something like that, crashes into New York, and they had to change the parts of it because of 9/11, so they couldn't show it. But as you go and watch the document of Metal Gear Solid 4, it shows you all the kind of pre-made footage and stuff like that with it actually crashing into New York. It's wild.
12th of November 2001.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of months after, but he came over to our house, and it was just a case of, I hadn't followed anything to do with it, so I didn't even know it was coming out. And then he just showed up at our house with this case with this game inside of it. It's like, here we go.
Here we go.
Just watching him play through this, like, this is just ridiculous. And then I remember going to buy it shortly afterwards and just being like, yeah, I am all in on this now. Like, this is who I want to be. I think that, you know, see if you'd made that whole game the tanker, just like Snake going through that tanker and doing stuff in it, it would have been incredible on its own.
Yeah.
But the fact that you managed to weave in Raiden, and then all the old cast of characters come back in, so you get to see what's happened to Ocelot and Liquid. Yeah. You get to see, you know, Colonel Campbell. You get to kind of meet Fortune, Vamp, Fat Man. You know what I mean? Like, it is outrageous how good this cast of characters are. And this is where it really does start to show Hideo Kojima is, like, you know, he's hitting it. He hit a home run. You know, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1 was good. Like, in terms of, it was great in terms of what he was looking for, but I don't think anyone could have expected that from him.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear Solid 2 was just a case of, like, he's here now. Like, this is what put him on. This is what put him on billboards. You know what I mean? Like, this is the reason why it became so big. And in a way, right? Metal Gear Solid is almost the sort of progenitor of the Souls game. It's a boss rush. Like, it's just you running from boss to boss, doing different things. Do you know what I mean? But in Metal Gear Solid 2, you get the joy of taking Emma Emmerich underwater and having to go through that underwater section and brush away bugs because she can't stand bugs. It's a fucking nightmare. It is the worst. But it is incredible. Metal Gear Solid 2 is truly, truly, truly one of my games of all time. Like, it is top 5 easy. Like, there's 2 Metal Gear Solid games in my top 5 without a doubt. So I could honestly, I could play Metal Gear Solid 2 You know how they say Desert Island Discs, where it's like take 3 discs, take 3 CDs on holiday with you?
Yep.
I would take Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid 2, and I'd play them forever. Ridiculous games.
I mean, it's I mean, it's it was a great pains to put that at number 3. For me, my number 2 was Metal Gear Solid. But we both know what number 1 is, so we'll just keep that to the side. We're in agreement on that. But Metal Gear Solid, I've put it above. What do you call it? I put it above Metal Gear Solid 2, just because of, again, the impact and for what it meant. And again, I think it's important to remember that, like, it was a literal game changer in terms of everyone, understanding and making the 3D transition era much more like realistic in our minds, and getting to see that, how games could be so cinematic, how they introduce, like you talked about, characters as well. I mean, Metal Gear Solid does still have an absolute, greatest of all time, rogues gallery, as well as other characters that are supporting the story. There's obviously the things that we know. We talked about Game of Folklore, like the Psycho Mantis moment. I mean, being around my cousin who introduced me to Metal Gear Solid and showed me that's how you beat them, it blew my mind. I remember sitting in school the next day. I'd been there at the weekend, and I'd be sitting in school, like, just thinking about this, like, how did they know? How did they know to put that in there? Just like such a simple but smart thing to do. Vulcan Raven, Ocelot, Liquid Snake, Emmerich. You've got a list a mile long. Decoy Octopus, all these people. Meryl, as you mentioned before, nudge nudge.
I love how Decoy Octopus is just like, he's mentioned in the story, but you never get to see him apart from when he dies. It's just like, he is dead. It's just like, that's cool, man.
And again, it's just all these little touches, and I would absolutely love. I mean, we all talk about, like, the notable point of not doing now. There was rumours that they would be doing like a Metal Gear Solid remake. It deserves it, man. Like, that game deserves to be remade, and that's why I think on my number 2 it's there, because it worked, because 2 could run. That was really that, it might be a bit of a piss take, so I don't think that I don't think it's going to stay there in the definitive ranking, let's put it that way. But move on to our number 1 before we definitively rank them all, that we know where we're all sitting. I've been keeping notes where you're at.
Just to recap everything as well, obviously, because I never mentioned it out loud, but my own list: Metal Gear Solid 4 at 5, Metal Gear Solid original, Metal Gear Solid at 4, Metal Gear Solid 5 at number 3. I have to put it in there. What a game. What a fucking game. But number 1 is, and always will be, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
That is full agreement. No notes.
From the moment that music hits, you're in for a fucking ride. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that opening, so Virtuous mission where you first jump in and you get to see what happens with the boss and stuff as well. You get introduced to young Ocelot. You introduced to Volgan, like fucking Colonel Volgan. It is. It's the one that, honestly, like, on a daily basis, I always think I'll just go back and play Metal Gear Solid 3. It is the one that I know parts of how to speedrun.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Apache Smash who sent me on my way with that. But it was just an incredible achievement. Like, what a fucking game. Going from Metal Gear Solid 2, which does everything that you would expect from a normal Metal Gear Solid game, to basically strip it all back and just make this love letter to espionage and James Bond movies and the Cold War. It's just like, this is just ridiculous, because Metal Gear Solid 3 could have just been Metal Gear Solid 2 on steroids.
Yep.
But take it back to the very beginning with Big Boss and getting to see, the zenith of this character and how he becomes what he becomes. Wow. Disgusting.
A genius move. I mean, nobody expected that turn back in the day, and it was such a pleasant surprise. And there's a reason why this is getting remade just now before any of them. They're probably thinking, why did they start with Metal Gear Solid Delta 3 Snake Eater, however they're calling this? And there's a reason for it. I mean, there's things that they introduced in there, CQC. You know what I mean? How you manage your injuries and stuff like that. Not to mention the camouflage system, as you mentioned. Strip it all back, and it felt, for the first time playing that, I was like, right, I get stealth now. Like this really did feel like stealth. Like it was you and the elements. No other game at the time had delivered that in that same way. Some people might come in and say, "Oh, you had Splinter Cell and stuff like that," but this felt unique. You chuck in that Kojima brand of characters and storytelling, weaving, plots within plots within plots. It is unbelievable, and then you start to kind of, the rogues gallery in this game, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Never be seen again. It is just like the characters that you have, even just like take one, for example, like the end, right? So the end boss fight is incredible by itself, but even just looking at the story behind the end, like it's just outrageous, and it doesn't go into it very much. Like you can call what do you call him? Oh, you can call the guy, the gunman. I'll get his name. Don't you worry about it. I'll think about it. The only thing I can think of is Peter Stillman, but it's not Peter Stillman. That's the guy from Metal Gear Solid 2. It's what's his name again? He's got a different name in it. I'll get him. Give me a minute. Metal Gear Solid 3 gun call, but it's just like you can call them for intel on basically the boss battles and stuff as well. Second, that's I didn't even have to know. Didn't have to check, but call him and he gives you information on all these boss battles and stuff, and it tells you the wee parts of the story and things. And it's just like this is just mad. Like old man who photosynthesizes and can hide and all that, but you can catch him with a mad bird, but you can kill him in 400 million different ways. Like, leave your PlayStation on and he'll die of old age. Or kill him.
Another piece of gaming folklore right there.
Yeah. Kill him when you first see him.
Yeah.
Like, you can kill him at the very first moment when you see him in the water, shoot him with a sniper rifle, and then he's dead.
And it's like little touches like that, which are so mind-bending at the time, but it just elevates this thing to greatness. I mean, he's had other, like, rogue units in it. I think the Beauty and the Beast unit in Metal Gear Solid 4, for example. You've also got in 3 the Cobra unit, and N's just one of them. Let's not forget like fights with like the Fury, which is unbelievable. The Pain as well, and Christ, do we even need to mention just how iconic and beautiful and painful the fight against the boss was? Like, it's just seeing that again remade and beautiful 4K clarity was unbelievable. But yeah, there's so many moments in that game, and then it's wrapped in, like you says, that James Bond-esque kind of vibe, and it just works. Like I remember at first, like hearing the theme tune, and you're like, "What the hell is going on?" But you're like, "Yeah, no, this actually works."
It totally fits. It's disgusting. It's also made me, and I mean, never ever again have I ever climbed a ladder in a video game and not thought about, this is like sneakier. If it's a particularly long ladder, I'm like starting to sing the theme song and stuff as well. I'm just like, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
This is what games have done to us. You just can't enjoy them in the same way anymore because they're not all Metal Gear Solid 3. But there was a period in time where, a few years back, where it was like a summer holidays. I think we were at uni still, and there was a summer holidays where the only game that I played the whole time was Metal Gear Solid 3.
yeah. I remember that well, actually.
So good.
And with good reason. With good reason, because it was just an absolute all-timer. And I remember when it had come out, like, just going and getting it and then just thinking to myself, like, it just wasn't on my radar at all. And that was the pleasant surprise aspect of it for me. Even though I was reading games magazines and stuff, I was just kind of like, all right, okay, I'll see it when it gets here. And it came out, of course, again, seeing it at my cousin's house, who's a massive Metal Gear fan. And then I thought I need to pick this game up because it looks the absolute dog's bollocks. And I was pleasantly surprised. And here it is at number one.
Number one on the list. I think it's the best PS2 game. I was watching a video today from Maximilian Dude, and they were going through their top 10 video games on the PS2, and Metal Gear Solid 3 was number one. And I think that if there was a Family Fortunes episode where it was Metal Gear Solid, if it was PlayStation 2 games, Metal Gear Solid 2 would easily get number one on most lists. Easily. It's just a disgusting feat. And it's the reason why Hideo Kojima is still relevant today as he ever was. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just
It is.
mad.
I mean, if he was a musician, it was like that was his big album, and he's been releasing questionable slot since. But you know, come at me, Hideo. Let's get him on the show. No, listen, still got high hopes for Death Stranding too. I want to see him like do something like that brand of Hideo Kojima, where he's at the peak of his powers, like with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Phenomenal stuff, you know. These are cherished gaming memories we're talking about across all 5 of these picks. So to be sitting at the top of all that is impressive. You know, it's impressive, and I think we're both waiting patiently any day now for MGS Delta to get that release date, because I was absolutely sure it was going to be a February game, but it's looking like they're taking the time to cook, and let them do it because it's a special game, and from what I've seen so far, they're doing it right. They're doing it right.
Yeah. That's it. And yeah, I hope everyone's going to understand that I'll not stop talking about it when it comes out. So enjoy that when it happens.
I cannot wait. So we know, we did say this is a definitive ranking, so we know where each of us stand on it, right? So I'm looking at it right now. There's some quick wins here, right? So we've both got Metal Gear Solid 3 at number 1. Now, I'm just kind of through the process of waiting and stuff like that. You've got Metal Gear. I've got Metal Gear Solid at 2. You have got it at 4. You've got Metal Gear Solid 2 at number 2, and I've got it at 3. So I think naturally, in the definitive list, I think Metal Gear Solid 2 should come in at number 2. Would that seem fair? Happy with that?
That's exactly how I have it. So it's no bother with me.
Well, Judy says that's good. So you take.
I'm happy to concede Metal Gear Solid. The original Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1 is number 3. If it was an all-time list, I don't think anyone else would ever agree with me that Metal Gear Solid 5 is a better game. And it's not a better game.
No.
It's just that for me it is, you know. But no, Metal Gear Solid 1. So it was Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, and then 4 and 5 can languish at the bottom of the list.
So are you happy to have Metal Gear Solid 4 at 4 and Metal Gear Solid 5 at 5?
No. I'm not actually.
Other way about. So Metal Gear Solid 5
and then 4. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Metal Gear Solid 5.
I think the hate for Metal Gear Solid 5 is just disgusting, and it all stems from how it happened, what happened with Hideo Kojima and Konami at that time, and how it all got destroyed basically by their relationship. Do
you know the turning point in that for me was when, you know, the Jeff Keighley capitalised on it at the Game Awards. Because it was like you were quick to do that, but less quick to do other stuff. Man, we're going to get Keighley on this show one day, and he's going to have a laundry list of things that I've said about this man. That's going to be so embarrassing. It's nothing but love. So the definitive ranking then, Scott, the Pixel Parents definitive ranking of Metal Gear Solid is as follows. Coming at number 5, Metal Gear Solid 4, then followed by Metal Gear Solid 5. Metal Gear Solid takes it at number 3. Metal Gear Solid 2 at number 2, and of course, the big kahuna, number 1, is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Do what you wish with that list. We implore you to go play them. Maybe not in that order. Maybe play them in chronological order. That'd be good fun. But these are 5 all-timers. And I thoroughly enjoyed that, Scott. I don't know about you. It was good to kind of sit and just pour over some games that old farts like us enjoy.
Old farts. It's one of those things where the minute I start talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm due it now. So I'm due a playthrough of it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I know. I mean, I've got the Master Collection sitting there.
I bought you it.
You did.
I bought you it.
You did.
Yeah, asshole.
It was a pleasant mistake. I should add as well, but it's sitting there on the dock.
Get it.
I know. I might just stick it on tonight whilst we're kind of doing some other stuff, whilst I'm catching up on other things. We just stick that one, put it on the portal. But yeah, I think this was that's the
best thing. In fact, that's the way to do it. Stick it on the portal and play Metal Gear Solid 1. It is what a ride, man.
That's a good point.
What a ride. But I did say we'll give some props to the handheld Metal Gear Solids just quickly, because I'll forget if I don't do it.
Please do.
Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel. Didn't play it enough to appreciate it. But I've watched a lot of the playthrough on Outer Heaven on Twitch, who they do constant streams of Metal Gear Solid, go through all the lore videos, go through everything you need to know, and it looks like an absolute, it looks amazing. So it's one that I'll maybe go back to in the future. Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, bought it for my PSP recently. Still haven't played it, but it does everything that you would come to expect pre. My dog is chasing our tail. It does everything that you would expect from Peace Walker, where you go in and recruit kind of enemies, but you have to drag them all the way back to the van and take them away, which is a pain in the arse. Peace Walker was, the peak of handheld Metal Gear Solid. And there's a reason why it got ported over to Xbox and PlayStation and stuff like that again, because with that HD collection, Peace Walker's fantastic, and it is. The story in it as well does a really good job, and there's a reason why Metal Gear Solid 5 is the way it is, and it's because of Peace Walker.
Yeah.
And the way that it kind of treats the story with video, kind of with the tapes and stuff like that as well. You learn through that, but I just think it's a really fun game to play. I'm pretty sure that was the beginning of where they started to introduce crouch walking and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Which was necessary. So Peace Walker's class though, like it's the one that, if I'm going to rank handhelds, that's number one without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another Metal Gear Solid as well. I'm sure there's a Metal Gear Solid, just Metal Gear Solid for like the Game Boy. I'm sure, and I think I've played that a few times, but nothing more. Metal Gear 1 and 2 are products of their time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Metal Gear 2 is more Metal Gear Solid than Metal Gear 1, but Metal Gear 1 wasn't made by Hideo Kojima, and it shows because it's coherent and not mental. But it's good. I mean, it's good. It's one that, see if you're ever interested in playing them, because you have to play through them to get the Platinum Trophy on the Master Collection. So it's worth just getting a guide out. Even just sit with it. You'll finish it in a couple of hours. Just go through it and just play it once, because it's worth doing. Because you get to hear loads of different wee tidbits about Big Boss and stuff like that as well. So it's worth having a look at.
Yeah, no, awesome. I think Peace Walker's one that I always wanted to get to, just never had the means or time to get to it by the time it was, available for me, I suppose. I think I was out the cycle of playing with a PSP and stuff, and it just felt like a bit of a slog. They did add it to a collection on the the 360 collection. I think they had it, a version of it, but I don't think it was great. I mean, I dabbled in it, but
it's on the Xbox store at this moment. You can go and buy it from the HD collection.
Okay,
and you can still, I'm pretty sure you can still play the multiplayer on it as well.
Oh, you're a bad man.
Just fun.
Tempting me here. But it's again, this is definitely a series. It's, if there's a Mount Rushmore of games series for Scott Curry, I think Metal Gear Solid will probably take up all four heads. Let's put it that way.
It'll be that scene from Metal Gear Solid 4 where it's just like Snake, Liquid Snake, Big Boss, and someone else. It's just like, that's just my face. That's so cool.
That's exactly
I love that shit. It's so stupid. CC and Metal Gear Ray and Metal Gear Rex back in Metal Gear Solid 4. See that moment where you have that fight?
Yeah.
What a moment that is.
It was
just disgusting. Like
total fan service, man. But it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
It's so good.
The whole Return to Shadow Moses in general, man.
See that fucking song that plays when you're walking through Shadow Moses, that time. Oh, heartbreaking.
Fantastic. But again, this is you have the definitive ranking now. I hope that people play it, and I really hope that future generations play these games as well, because these are ones that you need to. They're the classics, and you must go back and play. And I look forward to future episodes where we definitively rank some other greatest of all time series, Scott. But speaking of future generations and what games they should play, I think it's time now for the Pixel Picks Showdown, where each week we each pick a game from our chosen theme and decide which one deserves to live on in the hallowed Pixel Picks list, which is our definitive list of the best games we recommend and pass on to the next generation of gamers. Last week's theme was Xbox One game, with Sea of Thieves becoming the latest addition to the list. So in this week's showdown, we're going to be debating what best stealth horror game we think should feature on the Pixel Picks list. Now, as always, last week's winner goes last, which is you again, Scott. so I will be kicking things off this week. So let's get to it. I've got 2 tasty picks here, Scott. 2 rather tasty.
I'm glad you have to, because I have one, because that it's not a genre that I enjoy, which is strange.
This is becoming a trait of yours. We want the honourable mentions back. But we I can't have you coming in with one pick and winning again. So yeah. So my honourable mention this week is a game that really had some clutching the pearls in the early noughties. Yeah. It was one that made headlines the world over for the wrong reasons by very, very hysterical people who clearly didn't play games and should have probably focused on matters closer to home, such as Keith Vaz. The game I've picked is Manhunt from Rockstar Games.
I was curious as to whether or not that could be considered a stealth horror game. Yeah.
Shall I make my case, sir? Shall I make my case? Present it to the court?
Please do.
So, I think you're right. It's not strictly what you would picture first as stealth horror, but I think this is Rockstar really, dabbling, I would say, and moving into stealth gameplay first and foremost here. Playing as James, and you're effectively tasked to survive and being forced to commit
atrocious acts.
Yeah, and horrendous murders as part of a snuff film. And I thought in itself that was uniquely tense and chunky with atmosphere, but also bloody terrifying in terms of, you're a death row inmate being chucked into a situation that seems worse than death row. It's unbelievable. And it's not an outright horror, but in terms of a setting and the content, I think that is just as horrific a setting as you can imagine. And the stealth element of it is huge. This isn't like run and gun. It's not even a run and chib. It's like, you haven't to
sneak up behind folk and
plastic
bags.
Yeah, it's like horrendous. It's not something where it's going to reward anything other than stealth in a very horrific setting, which is why I thought...
Is there a way to play it on modern consoles? Is it on the PlayStation?
I'm not sure, because it's one, I think it's an important part of gaming history to kind of understand culturally where games were, I suppose, at that moment in time.
I've answered my own question. It's on PlayStation 4, so you can play it on PlayStation 5.
Ooh, okay. Excellent.
It's something I've not played. I've not played it since it came out. And with you talking about, the storyline of it, I had absolutely no idea. I can just remember a massive pig. Like, I remember a huge pig and killing someone with a plastic bag in the first 5 minutes of it. But apart from that, I have absolutely no memories of this game. So I might actually go back and play it.
Yeah,
because I've not played it. I've not played it in years.
You should. I always remember it just being all over the news, and then it kind of got linked to that murder and stuff like that that happened here, which was never ever really proven. It was a very loose connection, which is horrific. Absolutely horrific. But it was one that was, I think, like, was it banned in Australia and something like that as well? Like, it was left, right, and centre was getting banned. I think it did get removed from shelves here, or they had to edit it at some point so they could re-release it, which was unbelievable when you think about the impact that happened. But yeah, it had to be my honourable mention just because of what it is. I mean, it's probably more violent than anything else, but what horror isn't violent? It's definitely up there in terms of, I think to this day it would still shock people. If you went back and played it now, you'd still be shocked.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it because I'd love to see what it was. Like, I've got moments of the game in my head, but I don't remember ever playing it. So I'll do it for the content, so everyone can hear my shock and horror. The kids can't play Manhunt. Please don't let them play it.
I know. I mean, it really is like unbelievable. Like, and I know if they followed it up with Manhunt 2, which I don't know if it made as significant a splash, but at least in my recollection, I never played Manhunt 2. I think that came out in the Wii as well.
Did it?
Yeah, it came out in the Wii.
Christ.
And the PSP as well, and PlayStation 2. But it was,
for heaven's sake,
nothing.
Do you know what I'll do? I'll watch a retrospective of the Manhunt series. I'll try and find something on YouTube to watch it because I can't be bothered going to go and buy it. So I'll watch someone play it and actually watch how it works.
I think so, because it's a game. It's you're not having a great time with it. And this is a reason why I didn't pick it as
Yeah.
my pick, because it's just not something I think deserves to sit on the list. But it's worth for the point of conversation. But I digress. My main pick this week is a game that I have fond memories of with yourself, and that's Outlast. That's Outlast. I'll never forget the first time I played this when it launched on PlayStation 4. Pretty close to launch, and genuinely crapped my pants. Like genuinely like audibly shouting and dropping the controller. So then I had the bright idea, Scott and I, to play it as part of a group, which effectively just turned into Scott playing it and we all watched it, which is amazing. But it really made it shine because it was a way to kind of still engage with the game, and even watching it is a tense experience. Forget playing it, man. Jesus, like my hands were like shower heads. They were sweating that much. That's the only way to describe it. And I was tense, curled up, absolutely terrifying. And to this day, if that's what you're into, you can still go back and play that original Outlast and get the ultimate stealth horror experience. I really do. I think you can't fight back. All you've really got to do is run and hide, and you're relying on this night vision camera with limited batteries at your disposal, so you really have to be selective. There's been moments where you run out and you're just wandering about in pitch dark, knowing there's some monstrosity out there waiting to rip your head off. And I couple it with that whole, the creepy vibe of it being in this kind of asylum and the schlocky horror
and stuff like that. And the way that you have to look through the video camera and stuff like that for night vision, it's just
I feel it's an old
what a game.
Yeah.
It really is. It was really just it was a moment in time, and it was really cool. Like I remember that night playing it. I also remember it's like a turn in the story where it's like pure weird, and we all just laughed when it happened. It's like the monster has like a normal name. It's like Hugh. That's funny. It is Big Shug. But no, I think that if I was going to pick an honourable mention, it would be Outlast. To be honest with you, because it's the one that I have history with.
Yeah.
But my main pick for this episode is actually a game that I've not played, and the only reason I've not played it is because I'm fucking terrified of playing it. And the game that it's a game that universally adored for what it had done to a franchise, and the fact that it still exists to this day is good. Recently had news about a sequel,
right?
And but again, this is a game that I want to play like immediately. But I'm honestly the moment that I think about playing it, I don't have the mentals at the moment for it.
Yep.
But the game that I picked for stealth horror was actually Alien Isolation.
I was tempted. Yeah. I can see
everything that I've ever seen about this game screams Alien. Like obviously, like it is an Alien game, but Alien the first movie. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just the whole set dressing of it, the way that it looks, the way that it runs. Everything is just total Alien. Do you know what I mean? Like, and of course it would, because it's a fucking Alien game, but. You take that world, and in that setting alone, you could have just made a normal video game about it and just made an action game, which every other person has done. But they've actually just made it so tense. Like, this alien is stalking you from moment to moment, and you can watch it through the wee monitor and stuff like that, but you have to hide when it comes in the room. It's incredible. I'm just so scared to play it. I think you've played it, though, have you not?
I have, yeah. It's a fantastic game, fantastic use of AI in gaming, I suppose, like the way that the xenomorph will stalk you, and it's fun, and it's something that I've always said, like, and this is why I'm so excited about Jurassic Park Survival, is that template could work so well in many other IPs, particularly Jurassic Park, and just try to hide and wait for these big movie monsters to hunt you down. It's a very sick and twisty thing you want to do, but I suppose if you're an Alien fan, it's there. It's not perfect, that's the thing. Neither of these games that we've mentioned aren't. That's not the point. It's like, what's the best stealth horror? But what Alien Isolation does so well is that it understands the source material and it understands the assignment. which is just watching Scott's dog getting involved in camera here. You're not hiding from her, no chance. But it does such a fantastic job of doing that. Does overstay its welcome a little bit. That's probably the big mark against it. So if you are going for a playthrough, it does start to become a bit samey. That's the only downside, which I think Outlast has over it, to be honest with you. It's not as shit your pants scary in the way that Outlast is, but it's more, I would say it's more thrilling in points, just because you can see more. You've got an understanding of the environment, and the AI is smart. Like there's a reason why you could search Alien Isolation today and then have endless days of TikToks and YouTube videos of people just playing that and funny moments that come up from it, I think if I'm being fair and diplomatic, which I always am, you could make the argument that in terms of longevity, Alien Isolation has displayed more, and just in terms of content creation and that's out there. But that could also be in large part because it's such an iconic IP, which it has over Outlast. Because I think people, Outlast trials and all that have been huge on Twitch, but people really are sleeping on the first Outlast game. Like, I think it's just a very clean stealth horror experience that if that's what you're after, I would honestly just play that. It just delivers it in spades. I mean, we know the producer and music man, Mr. Sean Murray. There's horror games out there that I would absolutely beg him to play, and both of them would be on that list. But he was there for Outlast as well, and absolutely
he was there for Outlast. He loved it as well.
Yeah,
it's I would honestly, I'm happy to take either of them. To be truthfully honest with you, it's not. I'm not beholden to Alien because I've not got the experience of playing it. I've played Outlast, and I think it does a good job of the remit of what we're choosing here. Do you know what I mean? Like, as a stealth horror game, it's a perfect fit. I think it does just fall on its arse at moments, but what game doesn't? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm happy to go with either. You've played both, you've witnessed both, so you have the choice.
I think I'm going to have to be selfish here, but I think having played both, I think Outlast is a better stealth horror game out of the two. I do. I think Alien Isolation, it's just the fact that it overstays its welcome, and if you remove the IP element of it, like you're running away from the character, whereas Outlast creates a better world, I think, for you to run away from.
Fine with me. Fine with me.
Excellent. So we're back on the board. Well, congratulations, Outlast. You're now the next entrant on the Pixel Picks list for best stealth horror game. Next week's one is an absolute doozy. I have no earthly idea how we are going to approach this one, but we're reaching.
I've just looked at it there. I've just looked at it there, and I'm like, my God, how the hell do we even start? I've
got some answers up my sleeve, but it's going to be hilarious. But we are reaching a point now. That's the 43rd entry on the list. So in a future episode, not too far from now, we will have something special up our sleeve for all the games that's on that list. How do we discern each one effectively? How do we rank that? But we'll do something fun for that one. I look forward to it. Speaking of which, we've got some other things cooking up in the background, as I mentioned before. A little bit of additional housekeeping, but stay tuned to the podcast over the incoming weeks because we've got some really, really cool and heartwarming things for you to listen to. People getting involved with the podcast, and Scott and I at Pixel Picks or Pixel Parents HQ here are cooking up some ideas to how do we bring this podcast to you in a much more tasteful manner.
We've put our laptops in the air fryer, and it's cooking up something.
It is delicious. Absolutely delicious. But yeah, we're excited. There's plans there for, I suppose, Pixel Parents 2.0 as we approach our first year, I suppose, doing this, which is absolutely...
That is horrible.
Time waits for no man, Scott. But yeah, of course, that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. So thank you once again for joining us. And if you like what you hear and enjoyed the podcast, leave a wee 5-star review. Of course, that helps us out, makes a huge difference. And I'm issuing a challenge. If you're listening to this on Spotify, leave a wee comment. Right? I want to know what your Metal Gear Solid rankings are. I want to know how you feel about detailing games. I want to know what you think is the best stealth horror games. Let us know. And of course, if you've got any other questions in that, you can get in touch with us. But before they do that, Scott, if they just didn't want to do any of that, or they've done it, and they thought, what can I do next? And they thought to themselves, I want to hear the mad ramblings of Scott Curry. Where can they follow and engage with you online, dear sir?
So they can find me, if you can hear me, because my dog is taking over. You can find me at lamaman.bsky.social. I can't open my mouth without her trying to lick inside of it. It's disgusting.
Oh, what an absolutely majestic, beautiful dog she is, though. And of course, to repeat, Scott, in case you didn't hear it over all the slabber, it's at lamaman.bsky.social. And if you want to follow myself, it's at carmelite.bsky.social. And of course, thank you to our producer and music man, the talented and handsome Mr. Sean Murray. He makes it all happen, folks. He's the one that takes this and elevates it somehow. I have no idea what he does, but he elevates it in ways that I just don't know how. And of course, you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms and follow us on Blue Sky at pixelparents.bsky.social. And of course, write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening.
Metal Gear Solid 5 did nothing wrong.